Don't you hate it when you scroll for hours and hours on end? You know it's not good for you. You know it's not serving your life. You know that's where you want to be. But nonetheless, you end up scrolling and wasting your time for hours and hours on end, for many days in a row, many months, years even. And the saddest thing is, we couldn't pull ourselves out of it. It's almost like you're in a trance. You're clearly aware of what's happening and how you're being pulled by this thing. And it's a very painful thing to be aware of while you're doing it. It feels pleasurable, of course, but at the same time, it feels painful knowing that you're just avoiding and escaping from reality, from the part that needs healing. And don't you fucking hate it when that happens? And the one question that really made me think seriously about my addictions is, what if you don't change anything about yourself? Anything about this addiction? What if you don't do anything about it? What would happen to your life? Are you gonna be happy with who you're gonna be in a year, 2 years, 5 years, and even at the end of your life? That thought scared the shit out of me. I just could not accept having this addiction, having this thing that sucks the energy out of me. And it also reminded me of my college days, the days before college and days after college. When I was in high school, I was addicted to Dota 2, the computer game. And even after college, I was also kind of just drifting in life, purposeless. I had a decent job, but I really had nothing else going in my life. And life was cushy, you know? If I just kept playing, like nothing would have happened in my life. But I could not accept it. I could not accept being average and mediocre. And I was young, I was 23 years old. And I knew I had this potential in me that I can make something out of my life. And I just could not accept it. I just cannot see how playing Dota 2 could be a part of my life while me unleashing my fullest potential. And I want you to ask the same too. How would your life look like? Can you accept the type of fate that's waiting for you? If not, you don't really have a choice, do you? You just need to whatever it takes to get rid of this addiction and replace it with something valuable, something you've been meaning to do. So let us think about what addiction is. And when we think about addictions, trying to make sense of it, the first most important topic is triggers. What's triggering your addiction? You gotta ask yourself, when is it happening? Why is it happening? To me, it usually happens in the evening. Because in the mornings and the afternoons, I will be busy doing work. But usually this kind of thing happens in the evening. And for you, it might be different. Maybe you like to smoke and it happens during the lunch break or something. And this is a very important data point because it basically increases your awareness of when and how this addiction occurs. And another extremely important thing is emotional state. What is the emotional state you're trying to escape? For a lot of people, it could be boredom. In my case, it was a boredom. In the evenings, I just had a lot of free time. And instead of, doing nothing or listening to music or just staring at the wall, I decided to fill it with something non-productive. And it doesn't have to be like mental state. Sometimes your physical state matters just as much as your mental state. in my experience, I noticed that I just have much less self control when I'm underslept, when I'm stressed from work, when I'm not exercising, when I'm not meditating. So, those kind of things are definitely something to be aware of. If any of these things are happening to you, you'll know that you're going to be more susceptible to your addiction so that you can be careful. You can be less hard on yourself when navigating this territory. And another emotional state that triggers a lot of people's addiction is loneliness, feeling empty. We all try to fill this emptiness with certain drugs, alcohol, sex, anything really. And some people even try to fill it with work. And it is nonetheless addiction because if you ask that person, do you like working? They would usually answer no. It's not something that they want to do. They just decided to fill up their emptiness with work. And society just happens to reward it. So it actually makes it even easier to get addicted to work and success, accomplishments. It looks good on the surface, but if you ask the person if they're happy or not, they might not be fulfilled. They might hate themselves. They might have other important aspects of life they've been neglecting. It could also be related to self-disgust and self-hatred. I knew this was the case for me when I used to play a lot of games. I wouldn't admit it consciously, but I knew it was happening. When I play games for hours and hours, it feels like I'm punishing myself. I say to myself, here you go, here's your shitty feeling. And it's something that's very hard to accept consciously, but we all know how it works deep down. We all know it definitely influences your addiction. Sometimes you just feel shitty about yourself. You're not proud of yourself, of your past, or things you've done, or how other people perceive you. So you decide to punish yourself. You think it is the only appropriate treatment to yourself by doing these toxic traits and ruining your life. And it could also be just combination of all these things. You might just end up being bored, having free time in the evening, and the emptiness hits. So you try to fill it up with something, and combination of self-disgust, self-hatred, and also just like bad physical state, such as not getting enough sleep, can trigger these behaviors easily. So to get rid of these addictions, we have to work with these root causes, these triggers. We want to get rid of them as much as possible. Accordingly, we have to adjust our environment. That's the second set of triggers that are quite important. It's not just your emotional state, because your emotional state also depends on your environment. Sometimes, when you end up in an empty room with just your clothes and all your items lying around, unorganized, it's just so much easier to do bad habits in that environment. It's very hard to do bad habits in a clean environment, I assure you. Sometimes your habit occurs because it's just so much easier for it to happen. For example, you open your laptop and your game is there. It's on the bottom of the screen. You can see the logo. So much easier to just click on it and start playing. So sometimes if you just make it just a little bit harder for yourself, you'll realize that it's so much easier to avoid these traits. And it could also be not just your physical environment, but also people around you. There's a saying, you're the average of 5 people around you, right? And I honestly 100% agree with that. Certain people can definitely trigger your habits. They might even ask you, hey, you want to jump on this game? Hey, you want to I don't know, go out to strip club or something. It's very hard to undo these associations once you associate your bad habit with these certain triggers and environment. It's very hard to undo it. And I'm not saying, you need to get rid of these people, get rid of like everything that reminds you of your bad habit. No, it's just helping you understand why it's happening, and it's up to you to decide how you tackle it. Maybe it's good to talk with these people, tell them, hey, this is what's happening, and maybe for a while I might need a break. You might need like 90 days of separation from those people who trigger your bad habits. They're not even, I'm not saying it's their fault. You just happen to associate them with that bad habit, and it could be unconscious. And the second set of things that you can work on is you can try very, very hard to get rid of these triggers, right? You can do whatever you can to avoid as much as triggers as possible. But at the end of the day, your craving will occur. You'll never get rid of your craving. It's gonna come and say, hey, you need this now, you want this, and you need to do this now. This urge needs to be satisfied now. And the problem is you cannot control the urge, the feeling. It's gonna be there regardless. But what you can do is control your reaction towards it. It's not about how you feel, it's about how you react to your feelings. And what that means is you need to be able to create the space between your thoughts and actions. It's really all about how you relate to the voices in your head. And in order to do that, you need to realize you are not your thoughts. Whatever narrative and voices in your head, they're not you. Our biggest mistake is allowing them to be a part of who you are. What this requires is essentially an awareness of thought, of feelings when that is happening. Our first gut reaction is just merge with it, identify with it, just go with it. But give yourself space to just observe the thought. And sometimes it helps to even name it. For example, if you're feeling lonely and you're craving this thing, you might just say to yourself, hey, I'm feeling lonely. I noticed this feeling of loneliness occurring to me. And it's almost as if you can observe your feelings as if they're clouds passing in the sky. I swear to God, this is one of the most essential skill you can learn about yourself. This is so essential for having good mental health. And that skill is not merging with your thoughts. It's also called cognitive diffusion because most of the time we are cognitively infused with our thoughts. We're not able to separate ourselves. We're not able to operate from a point of view of observing that thought. We're usually merged with it. That's why we're identified with it. That's why we just go along with it. But once you learn the skill, you know that, oh, actually, you don't have to go with this thought. It's just a voice in your head passing by. It's like a radio that's going on. You don't have to go along with it. And once you start to do that, you'll recognize how your brain plays tricks on itself. How you try to make excuses for your addictions. You just tell yourself, oh, it's gonna be good, it's gonna feel good, you need to enjoy life. You're gonna live once, you deserve it. It's all bullshit. And to notice that it's bullshit, you need to be aware of it. Or you might also say, oh, I can't change it. It's because of my parents' fault. It's because of these people who ruined my life, and as a result, I'm this kind of person, that kind of person. So I can't change. I can never change. If you merge with that thought, you're gonna think it's truth. You're gonna think that's who you are. But once you learn the skill, you realize, oh shit, I'm telling myself these thoughts. These voices are coming up. And that's a wonderful skill to have. Sometimes you might even tell yourself, why do I even need to get better? Isn't it okay to just keep going like this? You know? And those are all valid. But you just need to know how your brain is playing tricks on yourself. So that's all I have for you. Really, addiction is quite simple how it works. It comes with the trigger. You just do whatever you can to get rid of the trigger. And if you're not able to do that, when that thought occurs, when that craving occurs, you just need to create a space, let the craving pass through, and keep going. And you need to do it one day at a time. And that's the only way. I've seen this movie called The Outrun. It was about alcohol addiction. And there was a guy in that movie. He said, it starts off one day at a time. 12 years, 4 months later, it's still one day at a time. Because that's the only way. And it works. Does it get easier? Yes, certainly. Initially, it's going to be very difficult, maybe first 10 days, 30 days, but you're eventually going to develop these new neural pathways and starts to get rid of your old patterns. It gets easier, but it never gets easy. It just gets less hard. Sometimes you think it's all gone, but one day you might miss how good it made you feel. You think you're doing well, and then all of a sudden, you want nothing more than a drink, or whatever that thing that your addiction gave you. And to this day, I still get urges for Dota 2. I'm not gonna lie. I even had dreams, even after quitting Dota 2 for a year or two. It's so surprising how your brain works. But remember the lesson that I just mentioned. Don't let your thoughts be part of who you are. Don't think, fuck, I have the urges. I still have the urges. I haven't changed. I can never change. No, those are just voices. Those are gonna pass through. And you're gonna be fine. Just create the space. Just imagine that those thoughts are like a cloud passing by in the sky. If you made it this far into the video, I am very grateful. I hope I offered something of value, and I hope you can change your life for the better. Thank you.